بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. I ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us a sincere intention to increase our knowledge and to admit us to paradise without prior torture. So let us have a sincere intention in our heart. Before we continue talking about other examples of sins of the tongue, I would like to mention to you this hadith. This hadith was narrated by Al-Bukhari. It was mentioned in Sahih Al-Bukhari. So he narrated that the Prophet ﷺ was in a session talking to the companions, giving a lesson. And while the Prophet ﷺ was talking, there were many in the session. Then three men came. One of the men saw an empty spot, so he went and sat there. The second one sat right where the last seating in the session was. And the third person, the third man, he turned and left. He did not sit in the session where the Prophet ﷺ was speaking. Instead, he turned and left. Now, this hadith shows us that when a person comes to a session of knowledge, one should not do as some people do, which is that they look and then they leave. Rather, when you find a session of knowledge given by people of Ahlus Sunnah, trustworthy people, you ought to enter and listen. So, because in this session, the session of knowledge, there are angels present, and one ought to enter and attend. So we should not say, oh, I already know a lot, or I know more than this teacher. Rather, one should enter with a sincere intention. And if you find a space in the front for you to sit, you go and sit there without harming the ones who are already seated. Or else you sit where the end of the session is. The Prophet ﷺ, when these three men came, the Prophet ﷺ said what means, do I tell you about three people? The first one entered and saw an opening and went and sat there. Allah rewarded him. As to the second one, he left out crowding, meaning jamming people, out of shyness from the Prophet. So Allah recompensed him by granting him mercy and not punishing him. Remember, the second person sat where the last place was of the session, but he attended and he sat. He did not want to, crowd or push or harm anyone who is seated. So he just sat where the end of the session was. So the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Ta'ala rewarded him by granting him mercy and not punishing him. As to the third one, and this is the one who left out attending the session of the Prophet ﷺ, Allah Ta'ala did not accept his behavior. SubhanAllah, can you imagine a session where the Prophet ﷺ was speaking and this person turned and left? So when we hear this, we are encouraged to attend the circles of knowledge and to know how much these sessions entail of reward. So the person who comes to such a session, he ought not to turn away and leave or think that he knows better, he knows the information, or he knows more than the teacher. By this, he loses on attending the session of knowledge and he loses on gaining reward. However, if the person attends with a sincere intention, he gains reward. And if he also attends to make the attendance of a session of Ahlus Sunnah more, since by his attendance, he encourages others to attend as well. Because many times, if people see that there are many attendees, they might become encouraged to attend as well. Whereas if they see that in this place there are not many people, they might leave and they might go to another place where there are people who are ignorant about Islam, who are sitting there and teaching, claiming to be teaching about Islam, but in reality they are ignorant. But he joins them because there are many who are attending. So if the person then attends with a sincere intention and also with the intention to increase the attendees of this session, so to encourage others to attend as well, then he is also rewarded for that as well. He gets more reward because of this second intention as well. Okay. Inshallah, now I will continue by mentioning some of the sins of the tongue. So, among the sins of the tongue that the scholars mentioned is to put off paying a due debt. That means the person owes somebody money and the debt is due. It's time that he returns this money. And he is able to return it. He is self-sufficient and is able to pay it back. And that lender, the person who loaned him the money, wants his money back. So the person who loaned him the money wants it back, and he is able to return it, and the time has come, so the debt is due, but still he keeps on postponing and not paying it, then this is sinful. And we see oftentimes such people, when they know that the debt is due, the person wants his money back, and they are able, you see them spending a lot of extra money on, buying extra clothes, going out to restaurants, etc., instead of paying their debt. What they should be doing is paying their debt back. Also, among the sins of the tongue is to cuss a Muslim unjustly. And this is a serious matter because nowadays many people think, they're just talking and talking. And so they say words that are hurtful to the other Muslim. And cussing a Muslim unjustly is among the sins. So one should be cautious in this matter. Among the sins of the tongue is to ask Allah to damn someone unrightfully, such as saying to a Muslim, "May Allah damn you." And being damned means to be kept away from goodness. So asking Allah to damn a Muslim unrightfully, this is sinful. Also, among the sins of the tongue is to mock a Muslim. What does it mean to mock a Muslim? That is to degrade the Muslim or to say anything that harms them unrightfully. So, subhanAllah, if mocking them is sinful, we can think then about, hurting this other Muslim by hand unrightfully, as we are seeing nowadays so many people doing. So many people today hurt other Muslims unjustly, whether with their tongues or with their hand. Subhanallah. So mocking a Muslim unrightfully, harming the Muslim unrightfully, this is sinful. Also, among the sins of the tongue is to make a false claim. This is, for example, by suing another person unrightfully while relying on a false testimony. For example, the person goes to, what they call a court, where there's a judge. He goes there and he claims that such and such person owes him money, when in reality, this person does not owe him money, but he makes a false claim and he says, for example, this person owes me, $1,000 or so, and he relies on a false testimony. So this is among the sins of the tongue. Also, among the sins is to issue a bid'ah divorce, and I will quickly go over this matter. What does this mean when a husband issues a bid'ai divorce? So he divorces his wife, a bid'ai divorce. In this case, the divorce occurs, it happens, but the husband is sinful because this divorce was a bid'ai divorce. When does this happen? This is if he divorces his wife during her period, when she has her menses bleeding. So if he divorces her during her menses bleeding, this is referred to as a bid'ai divorce. As I said, the divorce occurs. She would be divorced, but he would be committing a sin because he divorced her during this time while she has her menstrual bleeding. The second case is if he divorces her during a time of non-bleeding, okay, during a purity period, when she does not have her menses, but a time when he had sexual intercourse with her. So it's during a time when she has a purity time, she does not have her menses, but during this time he had sexual intercourse with her. If he divorces her during this time, it is also considered a bid'ai divorce. The divorce takes place, but he is sinful for that. In the first case, where he divorces her during her menses, the scholars said this is sinful because this prolongs, it makes her post-marital waiting period longer. The second case, where he divorces her during a purity period, but in which he had intercourse, sexual intercourse with her, the scholars said later on, after he divorces her, he might be then aware that she is pregnant and he might regret that. Okay, so then if one asks if he wants to divorce his wife, when does he divorce her so that he is not sinful? He divorces her in a purity period, meaning when she does not have her menses, and he does not have sexual intercourse with her during this purity period. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, among the sins of the tongue is to recite the Quran wrongly by affecting the meaning or the vowels, even if it does not affect the meaning. Now, we know that when we want to recite Quran, we should learn the proper recitation from a person who is trustworthy and knowledgeable and has acquired the proper recitation from another person who is trustworthy and knowledgeable, who acquired the recitation from another person like that. So we don't just open the book of the Quran and read on our own as some people do. We should first acquire the recitation. So either this teacher recites and we repeat after the teacher, or we recite and the teacher is listening to us and he corrects us. Okay? After that, yes, the person then can repeat the surah many times, and inshallah ta'ala, after he has acquired the proper recitation of the surah, every time he repeats it with a sincere intention, he is rewarded for that. Now, as for Al-Fatiha, the accountable person has to learn the recitation of Al-Fatiha because it is one of the integrals of the prayer. So we should be able to recite Al-Fatiha correctly for the validity of the prayer. So learning the proper recitation of the Fatiha, of Surah Al-Fatiha, is something that the accountable person should do for the validity of the prayer. Also, among the sins of the tongue is for the person who has enough wealth to satisfy his basic needs, or he has the ability to earn what he needs by taking up a lawful craft, for him to beg. This is sinful. if he has enough wealth to satisfy his basic needs, or he has the ability to earn what he needs by taking up a craft that is lawful, okay? Something to work that is lawful to do. But instead, what does he do? He goes and begs. So this is sinful for this person to do. Yeah, subhanallah, you probably heard about these cases, as I have heard, where they have seen people who, sit many hours on the streets and ask for money. And later on, people found out that these who were sitting on the street and begging are actually very, very rich. There was also a case when this person had accumulated a lot of money from people because he made them believe that he is poor, when in reality he was not in need. He was not in need of money. He had enough for what he needed. Yet he made them believe that he was poor and asked for money. So many people gave him money. And later on, he mentioned that to a scholar. And the scholar told him, "You need to give this money back to the people." Can you imagine now? He took money from so many people. Where is he going to find these people to give them back the money? And how is he now going to know who gave him how much? He put himself in this situation. Subhanallah, some people out of their greed and strong desire, love for money, they are willing to commit sins and they don't care. Subhanallah. So we should be careful in such matters.
Yeah.
Also, among the sins of the tongue is to make a vow with the intent of depriving an heir from his share of inheritance. And this vow is considered invalid. So, for example, he makes a vow so that the people who would later on inherit him when he is dead, he makes a vow so that they would not inherit him when he dies. This vow is invalid, okay? In this case, it is invalid. Also, sinful is to neglect notifying another person of a debt that one owes another one, or a deposited object entrusted to the person for safekeeping, or for other similar reasons, which no one knows about apart from this person. And due to a sickness, deadly illness, disease that this person has, he fears that if he dies now, the people who he owns, who he owes them money, or the person who entrusted an item with him will not get back his item. So in this case, what should he do? He should inform someone of that. He should inform someone that he has a debt that he owes so and so, and he should, if somebody gave him something to entrust, to safekeep, he should also inform someone that he has this item belongs to such and such person, so that when he dies, these people can get back whether their money or their items that they kept with him for safekeeping, for example. So now, on the other hand, if another person is aware of the debt or of the trust, whose testimony is accepted by the judge, and there is no risk that they will withhold the knowledge, they will not lie about this, then this is sufficient, okay? Because he already told someone about this, about the debt or about the item that he has for safekeeping for another person. Also, among the sins of the tongue is to falsely claim to be the offspring of someone other than one's father. And among the sins of the tongue is to propose to a woman after the proposal of another Muslim brother to her was accepted. What does this mean? This means, for example, there was a person who already proposed for marriage to this woman, and this person is suitable for her, and the proposal was accepted. Okay, it was accepted already by someone on the woman's side whose acceptance is acknowledged. In this case, if another man comes and proposes to this woman while he knows that there's already another Muslim who is suitable, who proposed and whose proposal was accepted, in this case, he would be sinful for that. In this case, he would be sinful for that unless the first man, cancels the engagement, or he accepts. He accepts that the second one proposes. The scholars said that because if he does that, and he knows that there is already a man who proposed to this woman and his proposal was accepted, then this, and he goes still and proposes, this might cause animosity. This might cause, confrontation and arguments. All right, also among the sins of the tongue is to issue a religious ruling about something without knowledge in the matter. So a person asks for a judgment and somebody gives him a religious ruling out of ignorance. He does not know the judgment. He did not acquire the ruling, yet he gives him the ruling like that. Subhanallah, this is a serious matter, and of course, this is sinful. When the person does not know the judgment, he says, I do not know. I'll ask, I do not know. I will try and learn. But if he did not learn the judgment of such and such a matter, whether it has to do with prayer, whether it has to do with dealings, conducting business, he needs to ask. He doesn't just give the judgment on his own. I will mention to you this incident that happened at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, where there were some men, and they were on that day away from where the Prophet ﷺ was. And one of them had a wound to his head. And this wound, an open wound to his head. And he was junub, he was junub, so he needed, he asked them, what do I do? Because he wanted to pray and he became junub. So he asked them, what do I do now? And they told him, we say that you need to make ghusl, the purificatory bath. So they told him, you need to do that, even though he has an open wound to his head. So he did that. He went and made ghusl, purificatory bath, and he washed that place. And what happened is that later he died because of that. He died. The Prophet ﷺ was informed about this, and he was not happy at all. And he said what means that these people should have asked. They don't know the judgment. They should have asked. They caused for this person to die. Subhanallah, they gave a ruling without knowledge. And what was the result? The result was that this person followed what they said and he died, because in that case, he was not to put water on the open wound. There are such cases where the person asks, okay, what do I do if it is harmful for me to put water on that place? And the scholars, would mention the specific cases pertaining to such matters when a person wants to make the purificatory bath or wants to make wudu, but has a place on his body where it would be harmful for him to put water on it. So he should ask somebody who is knowledgeable and trustworthy. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue with talking about the sins of the tongue in our next lesson. May Allah Ta'ala bless you, my dear sisters. It was a pleasure having you. Let us, with a sincere intention, say Tahleel 3 times.